So in the past 30 days, how many times have you thought or said out loud, why am I so tired? If this is something that you've asked yourself at least once in the past 30 days, today's episode is for you. Too often we can get trapped in a lifestyle of lethargy. And it's something that very easily we can become accustomed to and thinking, well, that's just life. I'm living life and this is how it is. Today's episode is all about looking at how life is so short and how to take a step back and reevaluate things, and how do I remove some of the things that are burdening me, holding me down, that are causing me and root causes of me being tired all the time. Today, I'm coming to you as not just a podcaster, but as a mom, a wife, a friend, coming to you as a mental health professional, ambassador of goodness, realizing so many people are tired all the time. And it's kind of like this cruise control that we're just like, I'm tired. It's just simply a way of life. And what I'm going to say is it does not have to be. Our efforts are super important in the sense of taking a step back and saying, how do I regain my sense of enjoying life, having energy, and not having this crazy train, funky fog fest going on as part of my everyday? Because if that's the case, out of more days of the week than none of you feeling foggy and tired and lethargic, we got to reevaluate things. And as long as you are breathing, it is never, ever too late to readjust our sails, because that's what life is about: readjusting, growth, challenging ourselves, and saying, okay, there's some things I need to work on. And if we ever get to a point that we don't have things to work on, well, we're in denial, because it's always something. There's things that we can allow ourselves to have growth and a better quality of life. So today, as we look at how do I remove and take a step back from maintaining a lifestyle of lethargy, first thing we're going to look at is boundaries. Big one for so many people, where whether it's professionally or personally, we can sometimes get caught in this, I'm going to call it hamster wheel of yes, and going, this is my space, right? So we have that with our homes. And we could say, okay, well, of course, this is my property line. What about your own human property line? Where are you where there's restrictions? They're saying this is when it comes to our time, it comes to our space, it comes to respecting ourselves. We can have a subconscious state of thinking that we don't even realize, of always having to feel like I have to say yes. Where we overextend ourselves, and it's in the workplace where it's like, well, I need you to, this has to get done here and this has to get done here. And there's certain things at work that we can't say no to. I understand that. But there's also times when we can say, well, that can be delegated elsewhere, or time saying, you know what, it's 5 o'clock. I'm out of here, instead of kind of that enticing feeling of I'm going to stay a little bit longer. Caring and loving ourselves enough to say, okay, this is my time, my space. You do not fall short. You are not inadequate in any way when you say no. When you draw boundaries in saying personally, professionally, this is my time, this is my space, or I'm using the big old NO, the no. We can become yes people, where that yes equates to my worth, that equates to my title in my job, me personally, whether that's as a spouse, a best friend, a sister, a something, those titles that if I say no, that was going to diminish my value or my worth. And so often when we are yes people all the time, we are tired people. And where it's giving ourselves permission to set up that personal fence in our own lives of saying, time has to be allocated, whether it be with my own personal family, myself individually, when it comes to work, and holding myself in high enough esteem and love and value to say these boundaries are important. And I'll tell you, it's kind of like in Star Wars, right? You have Luke Skywalker, and there's this like pull right towards like the dark side. And it's like, okay, I feel it. Ooh, it's coming, it's trying to draw me in. That could be us when it comes to the boundary zone. Like we feel that pull. I have to be boundaryless. If I say no, it's diminishing my worth or I'm falling short. And I say, time out, Brussels sprout. Like, that is not the case. Our self-worth cannot be caught up in the yes, no of our lives and always doing and always giving, because when we're always giving and there's no fence, boundaries are massively important. It allows us to be able to regain strength, our time, our mental clarity, and our energy, where we can be more present in a way maybe than we've ever been before. That it's okay, these boundaries are crazy important. So boundaries, looking at boundaries and how super duper important that is. We're looking now, really this weaves kind of perfectly into the aspect of self-care. When we put out boundaries, right? This is my yes, this is my no, this is my time, this is my personal, professional, blah, blah. That filters, that weaves into self-care. Some of us really struggle when it comes to, we hear the term self-care, we'll say, well, that's selfish, I don't have time for that, or I'm allocating it these certain times, and it's penned in, and sometimes life can be crazy trained, but in a way that it's almost impossible to fit in. And taking care of yourself, and for every single one of us, that really, really looks differently. Where it's, I'm gonna lay in bed in quiet for 12 minutes, right? There's no phone, TV, there's no, kids are to bed, or this is mom or dad's time on 12 minutes, dude. I'm in the car, there's no radio, or I'm gonna go for a run, or I'm gonna go for a bike ride, or I'm waking up a little bit early, I'm gonna do some push-ups. Self-care absolutely correlates in terms of our energy. When we are constantly giving, we are constantly going, when we're constantly emptying that cup, right? We have a full cup of water. And if you just keep a little bit, just a little bit more, at some point, the cup gets empty. We as human beings, man, could be just dried out, empty, super tired. And we're like, why can't anything come out? Yeah, because we've neglected ourselves. Taking care of ourselves is not selfish. Taking care of ourselves is something that comes down to the fact that we owe it to ourselves. Now, does it mean 16 hours a day, this is about me? That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is infusing it into the music you listen to throughout the course of the day, what you're reading, what you're feeding yourself. And I believe it sets an example that I am worth loving. I love myself enough that I'm allocating time where I'm saying no here, boom, boundaries. I'm taking care of myself. I'm going for a quick run. I'm gonna take time. I wanna watch this favorite show. It's infusing the I, where it's selfless, that allows that cup to get refilled. And what is that for you? Time of prayer, time of clearing our minds. We are so busy being busy and going. It's that hamster in the wheel. We have our cell phones that we could hit, that at all times it could tell us what the weather is. It could, in Tokyo, it could tell us, what time this bus is leaving in the morning from Bayonne, New Jersey. It could tell us, the top 10 fusion restaurants for sushi in blah, blah, blah. We're not phones. We're not meant to be on all the time. We are meant to take care of ourselves. We're meant to have boundaries. We're meant to value ourselves enough to clear our heads. And if we're that static TV where it's that sound used to drive me crazy, right? Or, you remember the beep with the little bars. It's incessant. There's something always filling that space. And for some of us, myself included, it's really hard to clear our heads. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes diligence, where we're comfortable being in silence. That could be a crazy foreign concept for some of us, right? The phone's away for 10 minutes, right? The phone or this show is off, or the laptop's here, the tablet's here. We're like in this crazy buzzing sound zone in our society, between people, between things, between technology. Becoming comfortable being where we're at, and that aspect of self-care is included in that big time. The next one we're going to roll into that I think really can be a struggle for a lot of us is the comparison zone. We can spend so much effort thinking of how we've fallen short, in our jobs. I didn't do this well enough. If you put forward as much energy as you can, you did your best, our minds can still get in there, creep in there, and have us question our worth. Well, if I was just Johnny doing this, you're not Johnny. Boom, time out, all right? Or we think as parents, I know I struggle sometimes, I struggle with this. You know, I'm a homeschool mom. A number of years ago, if you ever asked me if I'd homeschool, I'd be like, what, you crazy? And now it's something that I love, but I will tell you there's times and I'll think, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? And we could compare ourselves like crazy ninjas, right? We're like, what up? Comparison zone. Can't compare ourselves. They could get in, and I tell you, it removes energy. It takes energy away from us living in the moment. Whether as a parent, a spouse, a sibling, the comparison zone, it's tempting. It's like the fishing rod, kind of reeling in that fish slowly, and like not super fast, but slowly. It's there, right? Throw that rod away, baby. I'm not going to compare myself. And it's looking at who you are, where you're at, and loving myself and taking time for myself. Part of that self-love is like those thoughts when they come in, comparison, ninja, kicking them out, throwing that fishing rod away. And I'm loving me. I'm going to do the very best job I can as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, those hats that you wear. And right, it's loving yourself enough to say STOP to the comparison zone that just gets in our heads and could just be really crippling. And it's giving ourselves credit. You know, instead of comparison, it's saying, you know what, man? Like I just entered a school year a few weeks ago. And you know what? We did a good job. I did a good job. I was teaching my kid. We did or we're here. But pat yourself on the back sometimes. I know for myself personally, that's not one of my strong suits where I'm like, yo, what's up? Right? It's usually like, I could have done, coulda, shoulda, woulda, boom, fishing rod, throw that sucker out, chuck it out the window. And, you know, pat yourself on the back a little bit. I got through this. You know what? I gave it my best and it came up pretty good. When we focus on the achievement and the aspect of growth and giving ourselves kind of that golf clap zone and say, okay, how can I grow? Instead of how did I fall short, I'm going to continue going and I'm going to just get better. And this came out, you know, not 170,000%, but I did the best I could and it was okay. It's being okay with where we're at and saying that comparison, it's toxic. And I don't want toxic things as a part of my lifestyle. It's because that extracting that comparison goes in hand with self-care, goes in hand with boundaries. Pretty awesome. Another one I'm going to be quick with that I'm going to go in with you is the aspect of kind of minimalizing. We can be so cluttered with stuff, right? Just material stuff, life stuff, paper stuff, work stuff, school, that we have so much more that is kind of burdening us than we need. And one of the things I'm really trying to do over the course of the summer is like, how can I thin things a little bit? You know, a number of years ago, like truly everything we owned, this was extreme fest, but we sold everything, gave it away, fit everything in a super small storage facility, everything we owned. And we went around the world, right, for almost a year. That was like extreme minimalization, right? And it's been about 4 years and we've acquired more stuff. And there's nothing wrong with having stuff, but there's a certain degree where it's like, okay, things can make life easier. Things can also become burdensome and hold us back where we just have more crap, more stuff, excess than we need. And it's defining that need and want and kind of making it kind of a cool 30-day challenge. How can I, I'm going to go through some of my clothes and I'm going to go through some these toys or my recreational stuff or blah, 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 whatever it is. And I'm going to, give it to somebody up the road. Or I'm going to, bring it down to, my local charity, whatever it is, because somebody can benefit from it. And that's a beautiful thing. So it keeps going. De-stuffing ourselves is a gift that when we become lighter, we have more energy. When we have less stuff going on in our heads, this is talking about the comparison zone. This is talking about having less stuff in life. Our brain is clearer. We have the ability to think clearer. And I'm going to tell you this, I'm not in any way a speech specialist. We sleep better. We sleep better. So often we're so distracted and so overextended and so going. We're tired. We lay down at the end of the night. And this is where I say ending your night and just laying in bed without a phone for that last 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and just in thought, clearing our minds in prayer. and learning to be still, because our minds are going all the time. And when we try to, hey, I'm gonna go to bed, and you're like, "Bup, bup, 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 bup," right? Like you're like the twitching squirrel. It's hard. It's beginning to train ourselves. How do I clear out my head? And guess what? You're worth it. You are mad worth it. Taking time to take a deep breath. I'm ending my day because the rest of the day, I've worked on areas when it comes to boundaries, when it comes to self-care, when it comes to comparison, decreasing, minimalizing stuff. We could be cluttered as human beings, super easy. And all these things kind of fuse together. And when we start fighting for ourselves and realizing we're way worth fighting for, really, really cool things happen. And know you're worth it. Life is short. To be in a state of constant lifestyle of lethargy, man, we miss out on so much. We miss out on sunsets. We miss out on sunrises. We miss out on bonfires and really good chapters in books and story time and life, cool bike rides and as the sun's going down. Living life. Too often we could get caught up in just kind of going through the rigmarole of life. And we're doing life, we're not living life. And man, when we get on that train of realizing how worth it is to prioritize ourselves, to fight for ourselves, to love ourselves, to declutter, to focus, and to regain that energy, that we can really have a higher quality of life. It's awesome. It is awesome sauce, and it's worth it. So I appreciate you being here today. I hope you will glean all this stuff. Write it down. How can I infuse it in my life? And instead of beating ourselves up, we get excited. It had some fog. We're gonna get that fog out of here, and I'm rocking it out. I'm rocking it out. And what a beautiful thing that is, because you are worth it. I want to say thank you for listening to today's episode. Wishing you a tremendous amount of peace, love, and goodness, my friends.